This is Booked for Drama, where stories burn, hearts break, the tea is always hot and never a part two. Today we're diving into Draft, 13 Years of Deception. I was supposed to be the villain. Let's go. I was supposed to be the villain in someone else's story, but I never did a single wicked thing. Instead, I befriended the heroine and married the gentle second male lead. I thought my life was a fairy tale, the picture of perfect happiness, until I found my husband's diary. It turns out he was reborn. And all those years of tenderness and devotion, they were just calculated moves to keep me from ever hurting the woman he truly loved. Clutching the pregnancy test results, my hand resting on the soft curve of my belly, I felt a sense of belonging I'd never known before. A tiny life was growing inside me, a root finally anchoring me to this world after 13 long years. You see, I died once. Then I woke up here, in the body of a notorious villainess from a novel, a woman who shared my name, and whose destiny was to do nothing but evil. But I considered myself lucky. I had arrived before the story truly began. Before I could commit any of the terrible deeds she was known for. I had a clean slate. I even became best friends with the novel's heroine, Sophie. Her bright, infectious personality was impossible to resist, and soon we were telling each other everything. I became her personal cupid, cheering her on as she chased the male lead, Leo. I stood beside her as her maid of honor, tears in my eyes, watching her marry the love of her life. Sophie was the second person I wanted to share my wonderful news with. The first, of course, was my husband. David was originally the novel's second male lead, meant to pine for Sophie in silence forever. But my arrival must have caused a butterfly effect. He never became her shadow. Instead, he turned all of his attention, all of his affection onto me. For 13 years, I felt cherished, adored, and deeply loved. Marrying him felt like the most natural thing in the world. And now, our little family was about to grow. I couldn't wait to tell him. I wanted to make it special. Instead of just saying it, I decided to let him discover himself. I slipped into his study and sat down in his large leather chair. As I pulled open a drawer to tuck the test inside, a worn old-fashioned notebook caught my eye. It was completely out of place among the neat stacks of corporate files. A single floral corner peeking out as if forgotten in a hurry. I picked it up, a smile playing on my lips. The cover was cheesy and floral, the kind a teenager might love. The edges were curled, the pages yellowed, but it was clearly well used. We never kept secrets from each other, so I felt no hesitation as I opened it. On the flyleaf, written in elegant, looping script, were the words, "Forever Love." My cheeks flushed. A love letter? From him to me? I chuckled softly, ready to slip my own precious love letter, the pregnancy test between the pages. It would be my gift to him. With a heart full of warmth, I turned to the first page. The words hit me like a physical blow. My forever love, Sophie. A cold dread washed over me, my blood turning to ice. My throat closed as if stuffed with cotton and I struggled to breathe. My fingers trembled, but some cruel, self-destructive part of me compelled me to keep reading. I turned every page. I read the entire diary, word for word. It wasn't a diary at all. It was a collection of unsent love letters, a testament to one devastating truth. David was in love with Sophie, hopelessly, completely, forever. He had been reborn. He had always loved her. And his 13 years of devotion to me, every kind word, every tender gesture, had all been a lie, a performance. He had kept me close, watched my every move, not out of love, but to prevent any chance of me hurting the woman he truly loved. The joy of my pregnancy evaporated, replaced by a bitterness that coiled in my stomach like poison. For 13 years, I had never once thought of harming Sophie. But in that moment, a raw, painful jealousy clawed at me. To be loved so fiercely, so obsessively, that a man would sacrifice his life, marry a supposed villainess, and endure 13 years just to keep her safe. My mind was a chaotic storm of pain and disbelief. I don't know how long I sat there, weeping as the life I thought I knew crumbled into a cruel, terrifying illusion. Exhaustion finally claimed me and I fell asleep on the sofa. I didn't wake up until I heard David stumbling through the front door, reeking of alcohol. "Honey, I'm home," he slurred, a lopsided grin on his face. "Sorry, client dinner. Ran late." I forced a weak smile that didn't reach my eyes and went to help him, my body moving on autopilot. I loosened his tie, and unbuttoned the top of his shirt. "Thanks, honey, you're the best." His gratitude was automatic, thoughtless. If he'd bothered to truly look at me, he would have seen the swollen redness around my eyes. But maybe he'd been pretending for so long that he no longer knew how to see me at all. I helped him into the bedroom, got him onto the bed, and began removing his shoes and socks. I was reaching for a cloth to wipe his face when the alcohol stripped away his usual restraint. He mumbled, his voice low and raw with unguarded emotion. "Sophie," I froze, sure I'd misheard. My nails dug into my palms. "Sophie," he breathed again, the name a soft, aching sigh. As if possessed, I leaned closer, my voice a fragile echo of hers. David, his hand shot out and grabbed mine, the grip startlingly firm. His eyes, hazy from drink, were filled with a tenderness I had never seen before. "Sophie," he whispered, "as long as you're happy, everything I've done is worth it." That single sentence shattered the last of my illusions, trapping me in the ruins of his carefully crafted deceit. The room spun around me. I couldn't breathe. I stumbled out of the bedroom like I was fleeing a nightmare, because that's what my life had become. A nightmare masquerading as a love story. My sleep was filled with torment, a fevered ray of Anne's original sins. I saw her and her cruel friends cornering Sophie. I saw her hiring thugs to stalk Sophie down a dark alley. I saw her abusing her family's power to break Sophie's spirit. And then the villainess turned. She looked right at me because she had my face twisted, hideous, a mask of malice that even I didn't recognize. The dream fast-forwarded. The heroes, Leo and David, grew powerful and came for revenge. David's voice was cold and merciless as he stared down at me. You love ruining people, don't you? Let's see how you like it. I died in that dream, violated and discarded in a filthy alley, forgotten. No, I screamed myself awake. My eyes flew open to find David hovering above me, his face etched with concern. But all I could see was the version of him from my nightmare, cruel, calculating, terrifying. He was tucking a blanket around me. Honey, what's wrong? Why are you sleeping out here? You'll catch a cold. He leaned in. Are you still mad I drank so much last night? I'm sorry. That client was really important. I just shook my head. Words were impossible through the fog of exhaustion and fear. We didn't even have a guest room. David had once promised that if he ever upset me, he'd sleep on the floor like a repentant puppy. Now that I desperately needed space, there was nowhere to go. He really did have me trapped under constant watch. He didn't seem to notice my silence. He rubbed his temples and muttered, my head's killing me. Where's the hangover cure you usually make? I forgot, I said flatly. The truth was I hadn't made it at all. David came from humble beginnings. I was the heiress. He always said he wanted to earn my father's respect on his own merit to be worthy of me. He refused help from my family and built his company from the ground up, working himself sick to land deals. Because I loved him, I was his caretaker. I had researched every hangover remedy, spent long nights nursing him back to health. Made sure he felt cared for every morning. If I hadn't read his diary, I would have done it again without hesitation. But now I knew the truth. His ambition was never for me and uses her family's power to hurt Sophie. I can't let her have the chance. I need to build my own empire strong enough to stand against her father. If they ever try to hurt Sophie again, I'll make them pay. All his effort, all his sacrifice was for her, not me. And what's wrong today? You look pale. Are you sick? I can take you to the doctor. I stared at him, his concern, his tenderness, how much of it was real? I was still debating whether to confront him when my phone buzzed. The screen lit up. Sophie. David snatched the phone off the table and handed it to me, eyes wide with urgency. Answer it, he said. Numbly, I swiped accept. Sophie's cheerful voice rang through. And sweetie, you didn't forget about the art gallery today, did you? I remember, I replied, my tone dull. Great, I'll meet you at the coffee shop in front of the gallery. Leo's dropping me off on his way to work. Okay. Before I could say another word, David was already speaking. You have a date with Sophie? Let me drive you. You don't have to. Your office is in the opposite direction. He reached out and stroked my cheek, making my skin crawl. Silly girl. For you, every direction is the right one. Go on, get changed. He turned back toward the bedroom and I could have sworn his shoulders were lighter, his steps almost eager. Of course he was happy. He was going to see the woman he loved. He didn't even remember offering to take me to the hospital because in David's world, nothing mattered more than Sophie. When David dropped me off, Sophie was already at the cafe, happily sipping a giant mocha frappuccino. She grinned and slid a warm cup of milk across the table to me. David leaned in, voice low and gentle. You know you shouldn't drink too many cold things. It's bad for you, especially during your period. You need to take better care of yourself. Sophie giggled. Wow, you too. Stop being so cute right in front of me. David smiled and turned to her. That goes for you too. Less iced coffee. There it was. All that feigned concern for me, just a slip in a single line of affection for her. The warm milk in my hands suddenly felt scalding. He knew I didn't even like cold drinks. His words had never been for me. Yeah, I know. You're such a nag, Sophie teased, waving him off. I don't know how one puts up with you. David laughed and turned back to me. I'll pick you two up for lunch. I remember you saying you wanted to try that new Spanish place downtown. Once you know the truth, you see how clumsy the lies really are. It wasn't me who wanted to try that restaurant. It was Sophie. I had been too blinded by love to see it, and he had been too dedicated to his role. Now that the curtain was pulled back, I saw myself for what I truly was, a fool. Sophie looped her arm through mine. Okay, you can go now. Don't interrupt our girl time, she said, pulling me toward the gallery entrance. Oh, and I can't wait to see the new exhibit. I glanced back over my shoulder. David was still there watching us. His gaze was sharp, calculating, but the moment our eyes met, his expression softened into a perfect look of deep, abiding love. A flawless performance. David, I thought, aren't you exhausted? After the exhibit, we had just stepped out of the gallery when David's car pulled up to the curb. He texted me 3 times asking when he should be there. Before I would have thought it was sweet, a sign of how much he loved and missed me. Now I knew better. He wasn't waiting for me. He was waiting for her. I was just the excuse he needed to be nearby, close enough to keep watch over the woman he truly loved. Sophie's eyes lit up as she spotted a handmade ice cream cart down the street. And let's get some, she begged, tugging at my arm like an excited child. Whatever my feelings about David, Sophie had never wronged me. Her joy was infectious, and I found myself smiling despite everything. I bought her a cone, and she took a massive bite, her face glowing with delight under the hot sun. But then her expression changed. She went pale, her smile faded, her free hand clutched her stomach, and she gasped, her voice strained. My stomach, Sophie. Panic surged through me. Then, before I could catch her, she started to collapse. A blur of motion flashed beside me. David. He shoved me aside, hard, just in time to catch Sophie before she hit the pavement. Sophie, are you okay? His voice cracked with panic, his arms tightening around her as he lowered her gently to the ground. I landed on the concrete with a thud, pain jolting through my spine. I instinctively curled my body to protect my belly, my heart pounding in my chest. He didn't even glance at me. Didn't ask if I was okay. Didn't care. His entire world narrowed to the woman in his arms. When his eyes finally met mine, there was no love in them. Only rage. What did you do? He snapped, voice low and trembling with fury. What the hell did you do to her? I stared up at him, breath stolen, heart shattering. I hadn't done anything, but in that moment, it didn't matter. To him, I was already the villain. The world tilted, the edges of my vision blurring as David's accusation hung in the air. Sophie lay limp in his arms, her ice cream cone melting into a puddle on the pavement. My hands trembled, one still clutching my own untouched cone, the other pressed protectively against my stomach. The tiny life inside me felt like the only anchor keeping me from spiraling into the abyss of his words. I didn't. My voice cracked, barely a whisper. I didn't do anything. David's eyes, usually so warm when they met mine, were now sharp as knives. Don't lie to me, and he hissed. She was fine until you gave her that ice cream. The crowd around us thickened, curious faces peering at the drama unfolding on the sidewalk. A woman with a stroller whispered to her friend, their eyes darting between me and Sophie. I wanted to scream, to tell them all I wasn't the monster David thought I was. But my throat was too tight, my heart too heavy. Sophie groaned softly, her eyelids fluttering. David, it's okay, she murmured, her voice weak but steady. I just ate too fast. Brain freeze, maybe. His expression softened instantly, his focus entirely on her. You sure? We need to get you to a doctor. He brushed a strand of hair from her face with a tenderness that made my chest ache. I pushed myself to my feet, ignoring the dull pain in my tailbone. Sophie, are you all right? I asked, stepping closer. David's head snapped up, his glare pinning me in place. Stay back, he warned, as if I were a predator circling its prey. Sophie reached out, her hand grazing my arm. And I'm fine, really, just help me up. I hesitated, glancing at David. His jaw was set, but he didn't stop me as I took her hand and gently helped her stand. Her warmth, her trust. It was a lifeline I clung to, even as David's distrust burned into me. Let's get you home, he said to Sophie, his tone leaving no room for argument. He guided her toward the car, one arm around her waist, the other holding her hand. I trailed behind, invisible, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and fury. As we drove, Sophie chattered weakly about the gallery, oblivious to the storm brewing between David and me. He nodded along, his responses short but gentle, his eyes flickering to her in the rearview mirror. I sat in the front passenger seat, silent, my hands folded tightly over my belly. The pregnancy test was still tucked in my purse. Its presence a secret I no longer wanted to share. When we dropped Sophie off at her house, Leo was waiting at the door, his face creasing with concern as he saw her pale complexion. What happened? He demanded, rushing forward. Just a stomachache, Sophie said, waving him off with a smile. And David took care of me. Leo's eyes met mine, warm and grateful. Thanks, Anne, you're a good friend. The words should have felt like a bomb, but they only deepened the wound. A good friend, a good wife, a good liar, apparently, in David's eyes. As we drove home, the silence between us was suffocating. David's hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles were white. I stared out the window, the city blurring past, my mind replaying his accusation over and over. When we reached the house, he finally spoke. We need to talk. I nodded, my throat dry. Yes, we do. David's study felt like a battlefield as we faced each other across his desk. The diary lay between us, its floral cover mocking me with its false promise of love. I hadn't planned to confront him so soon, but his accusation at the gallery had snapped something inside me. Explain this, I said, my voice steady despite the storm in my chest. I pushed the diary toward him. His eyes widened, a flash of panic crossing his face before he masked it with confusion. Where did you find that? In your drawer. I wasn't snooping. I was going to leave you a surprise. My hand drifted to my stomach, but I stopped myself. He didn't deserve to know yet. Maybe ever. It's just old notes, he said, his voice too smooth, too practiced. From before we met. Don't lie to me, I snapped, echoing his earlier words. I read it. Every page, every letter to Sophie. You're reborn, David. You've been playing me for 13 years. His face paled, his mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. For the first time, I saw him falter, the perfect husband mask slipping. And it's not what you think. Then what is it? I demanded, my voice rising. You wrote that you married me to keep me from hurting her. That every moment with me was a lie to protect Sophie. Tell me I'm wrong. He ran a hand through his hair, his composure crumbling. You don't understand. I had to. Had to what? Manipulate me? Use me? Tears burned my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I loved you, David. I thought you loved me, too. I do love you, he said, but the words sounded hollow, rehearsed. I didn't mean for it to happen this way. When I was reborn, I knew what the original and was capable of. I couldn't let her hurt Sophie again. So you decided to chain yourself to me instead? I laughed. A bitter, broken sound. What a hero. It's not like that, he insisted, stepping closer. I backed away, my hands trembling. I care about you and I didn't expect to, but I do. You're not her. You're not the villainess. Then why didn't you tell me the truth? I whispered. Why let me believe in a lie for 13 years? He had no answer. The silence was deafening, a confirmation of every fear I'd felt since opening that diary. I need time, I said finally, turning toward the door. Don't follow me and wait. But I was already gone. My heart, a shattered mosaic of betrayal and loss. I didn't know where I was going when I left the house. My purse slung over my shoulder. The pregnancy test still hidden inside. The city streets blurred as I walked. My mind, a chaotic whirl of pain and determination. I couldn't stay in that house under David's watchful eyes, knowing every gesture was tainted by his true intentions. I ended up at a small park. The same one where Sophie and I used to have picnics. The memory of her laughter stung, but it also grounded me. She wasn't my enemy. She had never been anything but kind. The real betrayal was David's, and I wouldn't let it poison my friendship with her. Sitting on a bench, I pulled out my phone and stared at Sophie's contact. I wanted to tell her everything to unburden myself of this secret that was eating me alive. But what would I say? That her best friend's husband was obsessed with her? That I was carrying his child? But he'd never truly wanted me. It was too much, too raw. Instead, I texted my sister, Eliza, who lived across the country. She was the only family I had left who truly knew me, not the villainess I'd been cast as. Can I come stay with you for a while? I need to get away. Her reply was instant. Of course. What's wrong? Just need a break. I'll explain when I get there. I booked a flight for the next morning, my hands shaking as I confirmed the ticket. It felt like running away. But it was also a step toward reclaiming my life. I wasn't the villainess and I refused to let David's lies define me. Eliza's house was a cozy haven, far from the polished perfection of my life with David. She greeted me with a hug that nearly crushed me, her wild curls tickling my face. You look like you've been through hell, she said, her bluntness a comfort after David's calculated words. Over tea, I told her everything, the diary, David's rebirth, his obsession with Sophie, the pregnancy. Her eyes widened with each revelation, but she didn't interrupt, letting me pour out 13 years of hidden pain. When I finished, she leaned back, whistling low. That's some soap opera shit, and what are you going to do? I don't know, I admitted, cradling my mug. I can't go back to him, not like this. Then don't, she said firmly. You're not just some pawn in his game. You're in my badass sister, and you're about to be a mom. You don't need him. Her words lit a spark in me, one I hadn't felt since before the diary. She was right. I wasn't the villainess, and I wasn't David's puppet. I was, and I had a child to protect. The next day, Eliza introduced me to her friend Marcus, a private investigator with a knack for digging up secrets. If David's been playing you, there might be more he's hiding, she said. Marcus can help. Marcus was a wiry man with sharp eyes and a disarming grin. So, your husband's a reborn schemer, huh? Sounds like a case I'd enjoy cracking. I hesitated, then handed him the diary. Start here. I need to know everything. Marcus worked fast. Within a week, he had a file on David that made my head spin. It wasn't just the diary. David had been funneling money into offshore accounts, building a financial empire under a pseudonym. He'd been in contact with people I'd never heard of, business associates, private security firms. Even a hacker who'd been monitoring Sophie's online activity. He's not just protecting her, Marcus said, sliding the file across Eliza's kitchen table. He's controlling her life from the shadows. Every move she makes, he knows about it. I felt sick. Why? If he loves her, why not just be with her? Marcus shrugged. Could be guilt, could be obsession, or maybe he's scared of what you do if he left you. Me? I laughed bitterly. I've never hurt anyone. Yeah, but he doesn't know that, Marcus said. He's acting like you're still the villainess from that novel. He's built his whole life around keeping you in check. The realization hit like a punch. David didn't just distrust me. He feared me. Every kind word, every touch had been a cage to keep me contained. I couldn't avoid Sophie forever. She called me daily, her voicemails full of concern. And where are you? I'm worried. Please call me back. Finally, I agreed to meet her at a cafe near Eliza's house. I didn't tell her about the pregnancy or David's diary, but I needed to see her to know if she was part of his deception. She looked tired. Her usual brightness dimmed. And what's going on? You just disappeared. I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. I needed space. Things with David, they're complicated. Her eyes softened. Did you guys fight? He's been calling me, asking if I've heard from you. He sounds wrecked. I clenched my jaw. Of course, he was playing the concerned husband. Sophie, has David Everett said anything strange about me? About protecting you? She frowned, confused. Protecting me? From what? I hesitated, then decided to take a risk. From me. Her eyes widened. What? And that's crazy. You're my best friend. Why would he think I need protecting from you? I wanted to tell her everything, but the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I reached for her hand. Just be careful around him, okay? She nodded, still confused, but didn't press me. As we parted, she hugged me tightly. Whatever's going on, I'm here for you. Her sincerity was a knife to my heart. She didn't know the truth, and I wasn't ready to shatter her world yet. Eliza's house became my sanctuary, a place to rebuild myself. I started therapy, pouring out my pain to a kind woman named Dr. Patel, who helped me untangle the mess of my emotions. I also began prenatal classes, learning about the tiny life growing inside me. Each ultrasound, each flutter of movement, reminded me that I wasn't alone. One evening, as I sat on Eliza's porch, Marcus dropped by with news. Found something interesting, he said, handing me a USB drive. David's been meeting with a woman named Clara. She's not in the diary, but she's tied to those offshore accounts. Who is she? I asked, my heart racing. No idea yet, but she's not Sophie, and she's not you. Want me to keep digging? I nodded. Find out everything. Clara turned out to be a wild card. Marcus tracked her to a sleek office downtown where she worked as a financial consultant. But her real job, he discovered, was helping David launder money to fund his protection of Sophie. I confronted her at a bar, slipping into the booth across from her with a confidence I didn't feel. I know what you're doing for David, I said, my voice low. I want answers. Clara raised an eyebrow, unfazed. You're in. The wife he's obsessed with controlling. Her bluntness caught me off guard. You know about the diary? She smirked. I know more than that. David hired me to keep his secrets, but I'm not loyal to him. I'm loyal to money, and you look like someone who could make it worth my while. I didn't have much, but I had my family's wealth. Name your price. She leaned forward, her eyes gleaming. Help me take him down, and I'll tell you everything. Clara's information was a goldmine. David's empire was built on lies. Not just to me, but to his business partners. He'd been siphoning funds, manipulating deals, all to amass power to protect Sophie. But his obsession had made him sloppy, leaving a trail of evidence Clara had meticulously documented. With her help, I devised a plan. I wouldn't confront David directly, not yet. Instead, I dismantled his empire, piece by piece, until he had nothing left to hide behind. The first step was exposing his financial misdeeds. Clara leaked documents to the press, framing it as an anonymous whistleblower tip. The headlines erupted. Tech mogul David Langston accused of fraud. His company stock plummeted and his carefully curated image began to crack. David called me, his voice frantic. And where are you? This is a setup. Someone's trying to ruin me. I kept my tone cold. Maybe it's karma, David. And please, I need you. Come home. I hung up, my heart pounding. For the first time, I felt powerful, not like a pawn in his game. Sophie called next, her voice trembling. And what's happening? David's a mess. He says you're behind this. I took a deep breath. Sophie, there's something you need to know. I told her everything. The diary, his rebirth, his obsession. She listened in stunned silence, then burst into tears. I had no idea, she sobbed. I thought he was just your husband. He was never mine, I said softly. But I need you to trust me. I'm going to fix this. As David's empire crumbled, Clara revealed another secret. David wasn't the only one reborn. She was too. In her previous life, she'd been a minor character in the novel, a pawn used by the Villainess to hurt Sophie. But like me, she changed her fate, building a new life as a financial shark. I knew David was troubled the moment he approached me, she said. But I played along, waiting for the right moment. You're that moment, and her words gave me strength. I wasn't alone in this fight. Together, we exposed more of David's secrets, including his ties to a shady security firm that had been stalking Sophie for years. David showed up at Eliza's house, disheveled and desperate. And please, he begged, I know I messed up, but I love you. I can fix this. I stood my ground, Clara at my side. You don't love me, David. You never did, and I'm done being your pawn. He lunged forward, but Marcus stepped in, his presence a quiet threat. Back off, Langston. David's eyes darted between us, realization dawning. You're working with her? He spat, glaring at Clara. You traitor. Clara smirked. Takes one to know one. I handed him a folder of evidence, bank statements, emails, proof of his lies. This goes to the police unless you leave Sophie alone. Forever. He stared at the folder, his face crumpling. I just wanted to protect her. You wanted to control her, I said. And me, but we're not your puppets. With David's empire in ruins, he disappeared, leaving only a note, I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you. I didn't believe him, but it didn't matter. I was free. Sophie and I rebuilt our friendship stronger than ever. She and Leo moved to a new city, away from David's shadow. I stayed with Eliza, preparing for my baby's arrival. The nursery was painted in soft blues and yellows, a symbol of hope. Clara became an unexpected friend. Her sharp wit, a constant reminder that I wasn't alone. Marcus, too, stuck around, his grin a beacon of light in my darkest moments. My daughter, Lily, was born on a crisp autumn morning, her cries the sweetest sound I'd ever heard. Holding her, I felt a love so fierce it eclipsed every pain David had caused. She was my reason, my strength, my new story. Sophie visited, her eyes shining as she held Lily. She's perfect, she whispered, just like her mom. I smiled, tears in my eyes. We're going to be okay. A year later, I stood in my own art gallery, a dream I nurtured in secret for years. My paintings lined the walls, vibrant and raw, telling the story of a woman who'd rewritten her fate. Sophie was there cheering me on. Clara, too, her smirk softer now, a sign of the bond we'd forged. David was a ghost, his name fading from the headlines. I didn't know where he was and I didn't care. My life was mine again and it was beautiful. As I watched Lily toddle through the gallery, chasing a balloon, I felt a peace I'd never known. The villainess was gone. The pawn was gone. I was just an mother, artist survivor. And I was enough. And that's a wrap on today's reading here at Booked for Drama. If you felt anything, rage, swoon, secondhand heartbreak, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your fellow drama lovers. If you have any requests, drop them in the comments. Until next time, keep reading, and keep the drama on the page.